Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Let's show the 6-game NBA slate for today on Draftkings, and thankfully they gave us a nice Sunday slate because we only have the Pro Bowl on, and I don't know if you really even want to call that football. So thankfully, pretty good Sunday slate. Usually the Sunday slates are pretty weak, but they did give us a good one, so I'm looking forward to it. So quite a few pretty good games for fantasy purposes, so I am looking forward to it. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You also follow me on Twitter at Pennell16. And for some reason, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm at cpen16. And I also have Patreon exclusive content, including the NBA spreadsheet that I build every single night. This is just a first look portion of my spreadsheet. I update it all the way up until lock, and you guys know how crazy it can get like an hour before lock. So I'm updating my projections all the way up until then. Projections are all the way over to the right. My defense versus position chart, my Discord chat where you can bug me as much as you want there, ask me all the questions you want, or just hang out and chat. I also have my cheat sheet and core plays that I put out and update all the way up until lock. And also, NASCAR is coming up. That's kind of like my big sport. It's the one I look forward to the most. It's actually what I started out doing on YouTube last year. It's actually the one I've had the most success with. So I am looking forward to that. It's going to be starting in February. I believe February 9th is the first race. Not the Daytona 500, but it's a small race. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And also MLB is coming up as well. They're actually my two favorite sports, MLB and NASCAR. So I'm very excited for that to come up. And I'll also be doing a NFL Showdown video probably coming up maybe tomorrow or on Monday. So got that to look forward to. And I think I pretty much got everything out of the way. So let's get into today's slate. And up top, again, this is not the entire DraftKings player pool. I just pulled I shouldn't say a few. I pulled out quite a couple of handful of players that I happen to like just as a first look. Yeah, there's other players that might be okay on this slate, but just a quick run through for my first look. Just guys that had interest on my first look, or I should say first initial thoughts. I put them on here, and we're going to talk about them. So Trae Young, 9,500. I think he's probably one of the best plays on the slate, and he's my preferred spend up. So we have Atlanta versus Washington facing off, and we definitely want exposure to this game. As you can see, we have a 240.5 point over-under. That's pretty darn massive. Not every day you see a 240 total. And we have a 121 point implied team total for the Atlanta Hawks and a tight point or half a point spread here actually in the Hawks' favor. So this game is going to be great for fantasy purposes. We have two of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, and both teams also play very fast. If we head over to our defense versus position chart, I think you guys can see that. Let me check on the... Oops. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, Atlanta is the worst defensive team in the NBA, and then Washington is the third worst defensive team in the NBA. So there's going to be a lot of points being scored here. And if we head over to our pace column, you can see both teams also play very, very fast. Oops, I'm on the wrong column thing. Okay, I'm on the wrong sheet. Okay, so as you can see, Atlanta is 5th in pace of play, while Washington is 7th in pace of play. So this is going to be the fastest pace game on the slate, and it's going to be great for fantasy purposes. And Trae Young, he has massive upside every single time he's on the slate. I got him projected for 37 minutes. He plays all the minutes he can handle every single night. And on the season, he's at 1.42 points per minute. He's got a 34.6% usage rate. Nothing really not to like here for Trae Young. And he's also pretty affordable at 9,500. So he's pretty close to a lock for me just from a top spend up perspective, and I really don't see a reason why it would be too hard to fit him in because 9,500 is not that bad. So Trae Young, like him a ton on this slate. Definitely going to want to be getting a lot of exposure to this game. And also my second favorite play on the slate is coming up very shortly, and you guys, I'm pretty sure you can tell who it's going to be. But Sabonis, we got to talk about him because I just like to go in order here. He comes in at 8,700. Main thing here is that Malcolm Brogdon is going to be out, so that's going to open up some more usage and just point per minute rates all around for the Pacers because Brogdon does soak up a lot of usage and plays a lot of minutes. You know, you guys get the idea. But Sabonis with Malcolm Brogdon off the court really doesn't change too much, but he does run the offense. He's got over a 24% usage rate, and he's at 1.27 points per minute. And this is a pretty good matchup versus Portland. We do not have an over-under or team total out yet for this game, but bit of a pace-up spot here for the Pacers. They are 24th in pace-up play, so they're one of the slower teams in the NBA. But Portland is 12th, so I always like getting guys in pace-up spots. And if we head over to our DVP chart, Portland is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, and they also rank 25th versus power forwards and 24th versus center, so they really do struggle with big men. I think Sabonis is a very solid, safe cash game play. I pretty much say that every single time he's on the slate because that's just what he is. It usually gets you your double-double, and he just tends to have pretty good... I'm on that player. I keep going on the players chat. Let me move this around. I have a videos tab just so I can only have the guys I want to talk about, but I can't get it over. All right, let's see. Come on. There we go. But yeah, Sabonis, he's one of those safe plays every single night. Probably going to get you 40, 45 plus points, if not more. So Sabonis definitely on my radar. Hassan Whiteside, you guys know I'm a big Hassan Whiteside fan, and they dropped his price a little bit to 8,300. So earlier in the year, he used to be in the 6,500 range and low 7K range. They finally started pricing him up at least the past few weeks, which is deserved because the guy's been absolutely excellent this season. I mean, if you just look at his numbers, he's averaging 1.33 points per minute. Usage rate's not that high, but the guy's been excellent for fantasy purposes. And he gets it doesn't sound like a good matchup versus the Pacers, as they are one of the best defensive teams in the league. But if you actually look over to the DVP chart, we got to scroll down because they actually are a very good defensive team. They're third best overall, but their one glaring weak spot is centers. As you can see, we have dark oranges and reds here for their defense, and then you have a nice shade of green here for 21st versus centers. So the one way to attack Indiana is with big men and Hassan Whiteside. I think he's a pretty strong play. Now, CJ McCollum looks like he's going to be returning for this game, so it just hurts him a tad because with CJ off the court, Whiteside's at 1.4 points per minute, or a little bit more than that. So he's going to drop down to 1.3, but still at 8,300, I think that's fine. I can't see a lot of people going out of their way to play Whiteside because no one really likes to attack Indiana, but this is a pretty soft matchup for him. It's actually the only soft matchup for the Trailblazers here. So Hassan Whiteside definitely on my radar. The guy's been excellent this season. You could certainly look to play him. No total out for that game yet, but don't mind it. Now, Bradley Beal, like I said, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite plays on the slate. So him and Trae Young, I don't like to say things are set in stone, especially the night before the slate starts, but I think it's pretty obvious that I'm going to play Trae Young and Bradley Beal in the same lineup, or just in my cash game lineup or single entry GPP lineup. As of right now, they both seem a little bit too cheap, and the matchup is amazing, and I expect them to be heavy chalk. But as of right now, Trae Young, Bradley Beal are just jumping off the page to me, and Bradley Beal is still a bit mispriced. He had a 7,700 price tag in his last game versus Cleveland, which I thought was kind of just a joke. I know he's coming back from the injury, but he had a 51-point game, I believe it was like a 58-point game versus Miami the night before. Then versus Cleveland, he dropped over 50 fantasy points again, and now they only raised his price to 8,200 in a matchup versus Atlanta. I'm going to be taking advantage of that. He's only 8,200, and we have a 240 total here. The Wizards have a 120-point implied team total. It's a very tight spread. Both of these teams are awful defensively. Atlanta is the worst defensive team in the NBA. They rank 27th versus shooting guards, 30th versus small forwards. They're just trash all around on defense. And if you look at Bradley Beal's numbers this season, he's at 1.28 points per minute. He's got a near 33% usage rate. He's going to play all the minutes he can handle. Now, I only have him projected for 33, considering he's still coming back from injury, so I'm being a little bit conservative there. But Bradley Beal, I think he's an excellent play, and I do think him and Trae Young are the top two plays on this entire slate. So definitely want to get exposure to Bradley Beal, Trae Young. Like I said in yesterday's video, I wanted to play Zach LaVine and run it back with Kevin Love. In this game, I want to play Trae Young. I want to run it back with Bradley Beal. I think that's an excellent way to go. Then right below him, we got Devin Booker, and he happens to be in the second best game of the night, in my opinion. We got Phoenix versus Minnesota. Versus Memphis. Sorry about that. Both teams, it's pretty similar to this Atlanta-Washington game, but both teams are a little bit better on defense. But Phoenix, they're not very good defensively, and Memphis is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. Now, I know it's going to show up as bright red here, which usually means bad, as the over-under and implied team total, but I only have like two scores here, so the lowest score is going to end up showing up as a shade of red. Trust me, when all these totals are out, it's going to be pretty bright green. So I assume this is going to be the second highest over-under on these slates. So I definitely want exposure to it. 236 total. Suns have a 117 implied team total, only a 2.5 point spread. Definitely want exposure here. And Devin Booker's been playing very, very well recently. You know, he has 50, 60 point upside every single time he's on the court. Guy's going to play all the minutes he can handle. I got him projected for 36 as of right now. And this is an excellent matchup versus Memphis. If we take a look at the pace here, Phoenix is 10th in pace of play, and Memphis is 8th in pace of play, so both teams are top 10 in pace of play. I know it's got shades of yellow here right now, which, trust me, by the time all these, if I had the entire player pool here, or all the totals were out, these would be pretty bright shades of green. So definitely want exposure here. And if we head over to the DVP chart, as you can see, Memphis is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, and they also really struggle with shooting guards. They rank 28th versus the position. So this is an excellent matchup for Devin Booker, and I think he's a very strong play. I don't typically like to play Devin Booker in cash games because the guy does have a little bit of a lower floor, but he has been playing pretty well, the past few weeks, and $8,100, his price is down a little bit. I know he's creeping up to $9K recently, so pretty decent price. Love the matchup. Devin Booker is a pretty strong play. John Collins, this is pretty much just staying in this Atlanta-Washington game. I mean, elite game environment. You can't really ask for much of a better environment besides, actually, I would say Atlanta versus Cleveland or something like that, but Cleveland doesn't play that fast. So I think Atlanta-Washington is pretty much the nuts matchup you can ask for fantasy purposes, especially because not everyone's overly expensive. You don't have guys like LeBron or Giannis who are 12K, so it's actually pretty easy to game stack the game if you want to just go a full game stack. I totally understand that. But John Collins, he's a pretty solid player. I know he had a 67-point game recently, but that was also with Trae Young being out, so I really wouldn't expect that. But, John Collins on the season, he's still been pretty good. He's at 1.26 points per minute on the year. 23% usage rate, only averaging about 30 minutes per game, but I got him projected for 33 here. I think he's going to be fine. Awesome matchup versus Washington. They rank 24th versus power forwards, 27th versus centers. Matchup's great. John Collins, part of an elite game environment. Definitely want exposure to Collins. Kemba Walker. So I finally got Kemba Walker right for maybe the second time this season. There was maybe the second or third time. There's I want to say it was way earlier in the year. I think they were playing Dallas and Kemba happened to get 50 plus points, but he finally did well in the last game versus Orlando. Yeah, they played Orlando, right? Yeah, Jaylen Brown was out, Jason Tatum was out. So I didn't want to do it, but I kind of reverse jinxed him on Twitter. I said I wasn't going to play him, so maybe he was, he found out I wasn't going to play him and I lied. So he knew to go off, and I actually ended up playing him. Had 60 fantasy points. Felt good to finally get Kemba Walker right. And if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both off the court, I'm definitely going to have interest in Kemba Walker here versus New Orleans. With both those guys off the court, he has a 35% usage rate, and he's averaging 1.48 points per minute. That is absolutely elite. And he's only at 7,900. And he draws the nuts matchup versus New Orleans for a point guard. If you look at the DVP chart, New Orleans, they rank dead last, 30th versus point guard, so you really can't ask for a much better matchup for Kemba Walker here. It's also a really nice pace-up spot for the Celtics. They're at the 17th pace-up play team, and New Orleans is second in pace-up play. So I always like getting guys in pace-up spots. And I would read you these numbers, but I'm only playing Kemba Walker if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are out. Because, you could play him if one of those guys are out, but if both are out, it makes him an elite play. And obviously he gets a big bump. Because on the year, he's at 1.21 points per minute and a 27% usage rate. And like I said, that bumps all the way up to near 1.5 points per minute, which would be the best out of anybody on this slate. So keep your eyes out for the Celtics news. Kemba Walker could potentially be one of the best plays on the slate versus New Orleans. Julius Randle, he gets a pretty good matchup here versus Brooklyn. We just saw Andre Drummond drop a 20-20 game on these guys. They struggle. They're okay defensively, but they really struggle with point guards and they really struggle with big men. And Julius Randle, 7,600. I think this is a pretty fair price. He's usually a safe bet for 35 plus points every single night. It's also a nice pace-up spot here for the Knicks. They're 19th to pace-up play. Brooklyn's in 6th to pace-up play. On the season, he's got a 27% usage rate. He's at 1.14 points per minute. We head over to the DVP chart. As you can see, Brooklyn does rank 28th versus big men. I know Julius Randle's also going to get run at the power forward position, which is actually pretty good. But Randle's going to be fine. He's a pretty good player, so definitely want to. I don't think he has to get exposure to him, but he's someone I'd want to get exposure to if I was building multiple lineups. But wouldn't throw him out of the conversation if I was making a single entry lineup with him. DeAndre Ayton, this is just pretty much getting exposure to this Phoenix-Memphis game. Don't expect him to have too much ownership, just because I think guys would probably flock to guys like maybe Gordon Hayward or Kemba Walker or Julius Randle around that price range if both those Celtics guys are out. But DeAndre Ayton, he is not a bad play, and he's pretty good on a point per minute basis. I already talked about the game environment here. You guys get the idea. Memphis struggles on all aspects on defense. They rank 24th versus centers, 18th versus power forwards. One of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. It's going to be a fast-paced matchup. On the season, Ayton's at 1.18 points per minute with a 22% usage rate, so really nothing not to like here about Ayton. The matchup's great, the game environment's great, 236 total. I think he's a pretty solid mid-range play on today's slate. Gordon Hayward, his price is getting up there. He was at 5,800, and then he was at 6,800. Now he's all the way up to 7,300, but he played it very, very well in the last game. I believe he went 8x, and I'm only playing him if you don't even have to play him if all those guys are off, because I actually didn't even play him in the last game, and 7,300 is a bit much for Gordon Hayward. But if all those guys are out, he's got a 27% usage rate, and he's at 1.27 points per minute, so those numbers are pretty good. Great matchup versus New Orleans, one of the fastest-paced teams in the NBA. They struggle pretty big on defense, so Gordon Hayward, someone to keep your eyes on if both those guys are out for the Celtics. If one or two of them are both in, probably going to pass on all these Celtics just because they're pretty much fairly priced. But just keep your eyes out for the news. Jonas Valanciunas, he's the ultimate GPP play, and I say that because the guy's got an extremely low floor, but he's also got an extremely high ceiling. He's dropped like near 60 points multiple times this season, but he also has games where he scores like 15 to 18 points. So that's the problem with Valanciunas. I never really play him in cash games, but again, 236 total, give me elite game environment here, and both teams play pretty fast, and as you can see, he's very good on a point per minute basis. Now he averages less than 30 minutes per game, but sometimes that it fluctuates. That's why he's more of a GPP play for me because the minutes are never secure. But 1.28 points per minute on the season, that is very, very good. I believe that's like third best on the slate. But again, like I said, he's only averaging 25 minutes per game, but he's got 22% usage rate. Very good matchup down low versus Phoenix. If we head over to the DVP chart, they rank, if I can find it, yeah, they rank 20th versus center. So Valanciunas, he should be able to have his way versus DeAndre Ayton, one of the worst defenders in the NBA. I believe his defensive rating, no, I can't find it. But yeah, either way though, Jonas Valanciunas is a pretty solid GPP play on this slate. John Morant, same thing. I mean, these guys aren't going to grade out as great point per dollar option plays, but he's fine if you just want to game stack this up. The guy's at 1.13 points per minute in the season. He's got 26% usage rate. But again, he's another guy that's not always going to see big minutes. I got him projected for 33, only averaging 30 minutes on the season. But we have seen his minutes ramp up a little bit recently, which I do like to see. And 6,600, that's a pretty fair price tag for him. Because I know recently he was above 8K. Last time I remember his price tag, it was like above 8K versus Cleveland. So, Morant, he's got 50-point upside. He's also got a little bit of a lower floor. But again, if you want to game stack this up for GPPs, I totally get the interest in John Morant. And Ricky Rubio, same thing. Memphis is one of the worst teams in the league versus guards. Versus point guards, they're ranked 18th. Versus shooting guards, they're ranked 28th overall. Again, one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. Ricky Rubio, he's got triple-double upside. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but he does a little bit of everything in the stat sheet, which makes him a pretty safe play. He's also substantially cheaper than Devin Booker. Only 6,500. Again, pretty good matchup here on the season. He's at 1.08 points per minute with a 20% usage rate. Obviously, he takes a back seat to Devin Booker, but Ricky Rubio at 6,500, not a bad play. Can't imagine he's going to get too much ownership. I think we're going to have like 5 guys in a row here in this same game, but they're all kind of just priced in this price tag, this price range. And the nice thing is, the 2 best games on the slate, in my opinion, everyone's pretty much fairly priced. So if you want a full game stack them, or if you want to mix and match both of these games in your lineup, it's very easily done just because of their price tags. It's not like you have to overpay for anybody. It's not like if you're stacking the Lakers, you're fitting in LeBron and AD, and then you have to play like Danny Green at 3,500. That's not the case here with these guys. So I am actually looking forward to this slate because I do like the pricing. I like the games. Should be pretty fun. It's probably going to be pretty high scoring as well as long as the chalk does good. But Jaren Jackson, again, GPP play for me. I got him projected for 32 minutes here. He's at 1.1 points per minute of the season, 24.6% usage rate. Fantastic matchup here versus Phoenix. Going to be a fast-paced game. We know the guy's got upside. He's also got downside, too. He's got a lower floor, just like Valanciunas, just like Morant. But, he's fine in GPPs. He's got 50-point upside. I'll never forget that game where he just kept blazing. I've said it every single time I talk about Jaren Jackson, but there was one game, I think he had 9 or 10 threes. He just cannot stop hitting threes. So, Jaren Jackson, he's on your GPP radar. Same with Kelly Oubre. He's going to play huge minutes. We know that. And the guy's got a nice ceiling as well. He's got 50-plus point upside. He's also got less than 20 point up, less than a 20.4. So that's the problem with like a lot of these guys. They got high ceilings, but they got low floors too. So these are more the GPP plays. I think the better cash game plays probably come in that Atlanta-Washington game. But you can definitely find a couple of decent plays in this game. But it's really good for GPP purposes because a lot of these guys can pop off for sure for like 60 points, and some of these guys are probably going to floor you with like 20 points. So just kind of pick and choose your battles in that game. But Kelly Oubre, he's fine. He's been about a point per minute guy on the season, 0.97 points per minute with a 22% usage rate. He's fine. Good matchup versus Memphis. Jared Allen, he played very, very well in that last night versus Detroit. Without DeAndre Jordan. I forget how many minutes he played, but I know he had I think he had like a 2015 game. I know he had a bunch of blocks as well. I don't remember how many fantasy points he ended up with, but probably close to 50. I don't remember, but I know he had a fantastic game. But this is pretty much contingent on DeAndre Jordan news as of right. Last thing I saw, he was still questionable. He didn't play in the last game. I don't know if he was just because it's going to be a back-to-back coming up. I know he's dealing with I forget exactly what it was, but he's still questionable. If he's out, you can certainly look Jared Allen's way. He's going to play, 30 minutes, if not more, 6,100. A decent matchup versus New York. It's not the best matchup, but I think Jared Allen's dropped over 35 points versus New York before as well. I think about 40 points. Now, it is a pace down spot for the Nets, but they're going to look to push the pace here. And the guy's pretty good on a point per minute basis. He's at 1.08 points per minute on the season. We know the guy's got big upside. We've seen 60-point games out of Jared Allen, but we've also seen like 18-point games out of Jared Allen. So a lot of these guys, they got low floors, but they got high ceilings. But those are the kind of guys you like in GPPs. And if DeAndre Jordan's out, you can certainly look Jared Allen's way. If DeAndre Jordan's in, probably won't have too much interest in Jared Allen because we know the minutes can be a bit sporadic. Daniel Tice. So Enes Kanter is going to be out, so we can probably look for him to get about 30 minutes. I think he played 33 minutes in the last game, and he's been playing very well recently. He's at 0.99 points per minute on the season. With Kanter off the court, I believe that's a little bit above a point per minute, but he's been playing very well. I mean, we had a pretty good matchup here versus New Orleans. Now, Derek Favors is actually an okay defender here, but just on the season, New Orleans has not been great defensively. They ranked 21st versus centers, 23rd versus power forwards. And he's gonna get minutes. He's gonna get an uptick in minutes here. Should get a little bit of uptick in usage. Daniel Tice, he's been playing very well. He's had multiple 30-point games, 5,500. I mean, it seems like a bit much for Daniel Tice, but he's not been that bad recently. So I don't mind the idea of playing him. Should get close to 30 minutes. I think he's a safe bet for probably 28, 30, if not more points. So Daniel Tice on my radar. Dylan Brooks, I've actually been recommending him quite a bit lately, and he seems to be paying off. Now, I only like him in these fast-paced games where I feel like he's going to put up a lot of shots because he'll shoot the ball all he wants. I mean, that'll never be a problem with Dylan Brooks, but when he's in these fast-paced, good matchup games, he tends to excel, and that's what we're going to get here versus Phoenix. Again, both teams are top 10 in pace of play. We got 236 total, tight 2.5-point spread. I like Dylan Brooks here. He's only 5,500. The guy's got near 50-point upside. He's at 0.93 points per the season, 24.3% usage rate. Not going to play absolutely monster minutes, but he should be able to get over 30 minutes here, and I think he's a pretty solid play. Elfrid Payton, pretty good matchup versus Brooklyn. Like I said, Brooklyn's actually a pretty decent defensive team, but they do struggle versus point guards, and they struggle versus big men. Well, Elfrid Payton, he qualifies as a point guard, and it's a pretty good matchup. As you can see, they rank 27th versus point guards. We just saw Derrick Rose have a 46 fantasy point outing day. Not saying Elfrid Payton's as good as Derrick Rose, but I mean, he's going to be fine. He's been about a point per minute guy on the season. Exactly 1 point per minute on the season. But he's going to do a little bit of everything in the stat sheet, so it makes him a little bit safer. Just not completely reliant on scoring. He's going to get the rebounds. He's going to get the assists. There's a little bit of everything. So Elfrid Payton in a pretty good matchup. Also a pace-up spot for the Knicks. Got to have some interest. Davis Bertans, just staying in that Washington-Atlanta game. I know I don't have too many guys listed from that game, but just know it's a really good game to game stack. And Davis Bertans, man, that guy he's probably the best three-point shooter in the game. I mean, I know Steph Curry exists, but I mean, watching Bertans shoot threes is just absolutely insane. I mean, if there's a guy in his face, he doesn't even care. He just shoots it and he goes in. It's crazy. Now, the minutes aren't going to be totally there. I mean, he's still returning from injury, but I got him projected for 28. I believe he played 30, if not more, in the last game, or was that maybe the game before that? But he's going to get close to 30 minutes here. And again, this is an elite game environment. This is a game where I want guys that are going to shoot a ton of shots, and that's going to be Davis Bertans when he's on the court. And, if he hits 8 threes in this game, would you be surprised? I probably wouldn't. I know it's pushing it a little bit, but Davis Bertans got that upside. He should shoot close to double-digit threes here, if not more. On the season, he's at 0.95 points per minute. Elite matchup versus Washington. I think he's a fine play in GPPs. Might be able to get away with it in cash games, but there might be just some better cash game plays on the slate. But Davis Bertans at 5,200, got to have some interest. Then I have both Pacers guards here listed. They're pretty much the same price. Now I prefer Aaron Holiday. I preferred Aaron Holiday in the last game. I think he scored 35 fantasy points, had a pretty decent game. But both guys are fine. TJ McConnell with Malcolm Brogdon's off the court. He's been about a point per minute guy, and then Aaron Holiday's pretty much a point per minute guy as well. I believe Aaron Holiday's got a 24% usage rate, with TJ McConnell being like a 22% usage rate, if I remember correctly. But pretty good matchup here versus Portland. They do rank at 26 versus point guards. I think they're both fine plays. It's pretty much just pick your poison there. I mean, TJ McConnell is going to rack up the assists. We know that, but both the guys are pretty fine in my opinion. So couldn't go wrong with either. And that's pretty much going to be it for the player pool. And before we get out of here, I do want to talk about OverlayDFS.com. Okay, guys, so overlaydfs.com, sponsor of the show. Check them out. It's a very casual, like for a casual player DFS website. There's no sharks here. There's no salary cap restrictions. It's as easy as it sounds. It's just a pick'em website. If you thought Thaddeus Young was going to outscore, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name because I always struggle with that. But if you thought Thaddeus Young was going to outscore him, which I thought was a pretty easy bet, you pick Young, and then if he ends up scoring more fantasy points than him, you win that matchup. If you thought Derrick Rose was going to outscore Spencer Dinwiddie, which I thought, again, was one of the easier matchups on the slate, you pick Derrick Rose. It's as simple as that. It's just pretty much a start-'em, sit-'em type of ordeal. And if you finish in the top 10% of the contest, you win 9 extra money. So, for example, this was the $22 double deuce. And if you happen to finish in their top 5 spots, which was the top 10% of this contest, you happen to win $180, which unfortunately I came in 12th. I had a couple of mistakes here. Some things that did not go my way, so I did not cash this time around. But it's a legit website. When I have cash, they have paid me out just into my bank. Like the money was into my bank account that I withdrawed in less than 24 hours. Like I know the one time I withdrawed maybe at 2 a.m. ended up coming in at like 2 p.m. the next day. So they pay out quick. They got some good people over there. It's a very fun website. I would not recommend this to you guys if I didn't play it myself, which as you can see, I do play it myself. I'm right there. I came in 12th. That's my name, CPen16. It's my name on everything. So check it out if you want to. And if you go 12-0 in your picks, I know it sounds a little bit easy, but it's not. But if you happen to go 12-0 in your picks, you can win a $7,000 jackpot if you go 12-0 in your picks. I have been close before. I believe I went 10-2 a couple of times. I've been very close, so I'm chasing that jackpot. You guys should as well. I do not have a promo code to sign up. Just go over to the website, overlaydfs.com. Check them out. You do not have to say that I sent you. Just sign up for an account and get playing. It's a very fun website. They have quite a few contests. They have the $2.50 Pee Wee tournament. They have the $22 double deuce. And they even have a $100 entry. You can do a heads up kind of thing. Whatever you prefer, check it out. Overlaydfs.com. Very fun website to play on. I link in the description below. I don't want to get my channel striked against community guidelines for having like a DFS website linked in my description, because I know a couple of YouTubers have had that happen to them, so I'm not going to risk that, but it's just how it sounds. Overlaydfs.com. Check it out. That's going to be it for this video, guys. If it was helpful, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can follow my socials. You can follow my socials if you choose to do so. And then you can check out my Patreon exclusive content as well. And I also got a couple more sports coming up soon, which I am very excited about. We got NASCAR, MLB. Very, very excited for those. I'll have my spreadsheets and my predictions for that as well. And without further, I do that in the last video too. That's what I do in the intro. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the Pro Bowl, I guess. Maybe a couple of players from your team there. You can root them on. If you're playing DFS Pro Bowl, I'm not going to have a video for that because that's just a random luck contest. If anyone can tell you they know what's going to happen in the Pro Bowl, they're lying to you. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Have a great Sunday. I'll see you guys in the next video.